Welcome to the Possibility Action Network podcast. I'm your host, Stephen Middleton, aka Possibility Man. We're committed to bringing you guests who strive to better people's lives and serve as a force for good in the world. Our guest today is Blaqamore Hampton. He is an author and coach focusing on health and financial literacy. He transformed his health by losing 60 pounds in 60 days, thereby reversing hypertension, cholesterol, and prediabetes, all without any medication. Blaqamore now dedicates himself to helping others achieve their best lives through self-improvement, especially with health and fitness. His first book, Everything You Need to Know About Stocks, for now, has empowered many individuals to create wealth. His upcoming book, Transformation 60, will be available in the summer of 2024. Blaqamore Hampton, welcome to the show today.
Thank you for having me. Thank you for having me. How you
Uh-huh.
doing today?
Look, I'm doing great. I saw you on social media, I believe it was, and I saw that you lost 60 pounds in 60 days. And of course, I immediately said, of course, I want to talk to him. Yeah. Before we dive in back and more, I want to make this announcement to our listeners and our viewers. Follow, like, and share this podcast wherever you find it. Your support matters and is appreciated. Blaqamore, how are you doing today, sir?
I'm doing pretty good, doing pretty well, I must say.
Uh-huh. Now, do you reside? I know you're from Omaha, Nebraska. Do you
Mhm.
reside there now, or are you in some other part of the world, the
No,
country?
I'm in LA now, in California.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
You've gone Hollywood on us. You've gone Hollywood. And that's terrific. I like to hear it. Maybe Transformation 60 will turn into a book while you're out there in Hollywood. Hey, but look, let's dive right into this thing. I got a lot of things to talk to you about, and we have about 60 minutes or so to do it. Um, we're both, we live in the United States, and a lot of
Mhm.
people are consumers of healthcare. And I'm just curious about your take. I know that you've been exposed to healthcare, you've consumed healthcare. What is your impression about healthcare USA today?
In the USA, I think that we seem to be an oxymoronic country
Mm,
because, we have first world healthcare. We're the most medicated country on the planet, but at the same time, we're the most sick nation on the planet. And how can that make sense?
right.
Uh, Also, if you was to talk to somebody like in the fitness industry to help you lose weight and be healthy, the main thing they'll put on you is protein, and we consume the most protein on the planet. But once again, we're the most sick nation on the planet. So
Mhm.
how can this be? So my take on healthcare in this country is I'm confused.
Yeah, yeah.
How
Well,
can
I
this
tell you
be?
what, it does seem that, in the United States and perhaps for other parts of the world, is that you got an ill, then the patient is saying, give me a pill. Is that your sense of it?
Yeah, yeah. We're conditioned to think that a pill could fix everything, and some things
Mm,
pills just can't be fixed.
yeah.
Pills is meant for, we could use it for, maybe like infections and maybe to numb the pain if you broke your leg, but some things come down to choices and lifestyle more often than not. And I think we're finding that out the hard way.
I get you. I mean, what I hear you saying is that, of course, if you're going into the emergency room with a stroke, a
Hmm.
pill might be a nice intervention,
Yeah.
but it may not have to be a lifestyle. Well, I said stroke. Let me take that out. I'm not a medical doctor. Blaqamore is not. But I get what you're saying, though, is
Yeah.
that, this has become a lifestyle here. Give me a pill, and we live that way for the rest of our lives.
Exactly.
Yeah. Yeah. So I've heard you talk about health, and you've offered a definition of health of a healthy person. I don't think I'd heard that before. So, what is your definition of health or a healthy person?
Well, yeah. Well, actually, it's a definition that I've taken from it was a study done with like the World Health Organization and some other
Mm,
entity. It slips me, and they was speaking about it more philosophically, and they define health as being in a state of doing prolonged behavior that leads to ease of function. At least in disease being defined as prolonged being in a
mm,
state that does prolong behavior that prevents ease of function. So when we think of it like that, we understand it's more not even just what we do, but how we feel, because it says in a state, right? And what you'll find, or what I found, I can say, is when I do these consultations with many people who may be struggling with their weight and maybe led to diabetes or high blood pressure or whatever, they have, I guess emotional traumas, emotional things that they're dealing with, and they're using food to self-medicate, unbeknownst to them, because we don't even think it's food as a form of medicine or a form of drugs. But the number is, I believe, 86%. 86% of what we eat, I would define as drugs, because last I
Yeah.
checked, a drug was defined as something that you consume that doesn't nourish you, that's not food. And a lot of what we eat isn't food. It's processed, man-made things made in the lab with a whole bunch of ingredients in it or chemicals in it.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, I like that because I think if we're honest, in fact, if I'm honest to you, Blaqamore, if I'm using anything, let's say I'm using food, ice cream, whatever, if I'm using the ice cream isn't the problem, is I'm using it to solve a
Mm-hmm.
problem, and that's about what you're saying, isn't it? We're
Yeah.
using something else is going on.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. And it's
Yeah,
preventing
yeah,
ease of function, because too much of the ice cream or too much of the cookies, after a while, your cells and insulin develop a bad relationship with each other. And
yeah,
now we have,
yeah,
diabetes or blood pressure or whatever
yeah.
the case.
Yeah, that's so good, and that's so true. Now, you subscribe to or you follow, if I got it right, if I got it wrong, let me know, a holistic lifestyle. If I got that right, what is that?
It kind of goes to that definition. So when we
Mhm.
realize that the definition of health is basically doing things that makes life easier, right? It promotes ease of function. Well, bad food isn't the only thing that could mess up your life, right? How do you choose your friends? How are you choosing your romantic partner? What type of TV shows are you watching? What type of media are you watching? Because if we're talking about you being in a state of doing these behaviors that lead or prevent ease of function, if you get in a certain mood, like when you feel stressed out, it's very common to want to have something sweet. The court is,
Mm,
it produces a stress hormone, cortisol. Your body wants to stay in a state of balance. So if too much cortisol is produced, the body says we need dopamine to balance this out. The quickest way to get dopamine is to eat something, even if it's healthy. But if you eat something that has been processed or sugar, more dopamine is produced than normal. And dopamine, we know, leads to a behavior that strengthens that behavior. And now here we are developing addictive behaviors that don't serve us. It all because we watched something on the news that got us in a bad mood and stressed us out, right?
mm,
So,
mm.
what you consume mentally is also part of your diet. It's not just the food, it's everything. Because how are you thinking? What you think is going to determine what you do, which could potentially determine what you eat, if you're going to move or not move, so on and so forth.
Yeah, I think that's powerful there. I know you do a lot of work around mindset. I'm to bring you back to prove that one. I love that. But I want to continue on this journey here. Now, you clearly, the first time I heard you speak, I said, well, this guy is knowledgeable. So how did you gain your, knowledge base? How did you come to where you are now?
uh, I think if I go back to the beginning of it, it probably started in school. I used to get in trouble. I was in ISS a lot, in school suspension. And I don't know if you spent a lot of time there or not, but it's basically like jail junior, right? You get a lot of, you're stuck in this room and all you see is the wall and you can't come out for the whole day. And, like most Black people, I grew up in the church and things like that. And at this point in time, I was like into the Bible a lot. So like most people who go to church, this is where you find God or Allah. So I used to bring my Bible with me. I just had a lot of time to study and read and nerd out. And I think I had more time than the average person to learn things. And it kind of became a habit in junior high. And I just got used to studying things throughout the rest of my life. And also, I've spent most of my life working for myself. So I kind of control my time. So I have more time than
Mhm.
the average person to study things. And I think it just grew from there. And I feel like I learned like a lot of things that the average person just doesn't have time to learn.
Mhm.
And I found
Mhm.
some of the stuff I was learning to be like life changing and profound, to the point where I never wanted to give up my time to not potentially learn this information that I'm learning. So I
Mhm.
think it started from there.
I see. Well, it shows. I mean, it shows in what you say about health. what you said about fitness, and my gosh, what you said about, well, we'll get into it a little later. I don't want to tip it yet. But, back to the United States, from where I sit and look at the health landscape, there are a ton of chronic conditions. I mean,
Mhm.
like four major ones I hear about like almost every day. What's going on here? What are some of these chronic conditions that you are familiar with? Can you enumerate a few of them with me?
Yeah, blood pressure is super duper common. I don't think
Mhm.
it's a coincidence that every time I talk about blood pressure, those videos tend to get more views than the other ones. Of course, being overweight in general, well, I'm gonna get to that in a second as far as that, because that's both healthy and unhealthy, getting fat, but I'll talk
Mm,
about that in a second. Diabetes. No, the number one cause of death is heart disease, and the number
mm,
one cause of heart disease is diabetes.
mm.
And the number one cause of diabetes is just eating too much non-nutrient dense foods. Something very easy to combat. Prostate cancer, especially in men and black men in particular. With black people, most of these chronic health conditions, we get them more often and they're fatal to us at a higher ratio than the other counterparts in America. Um, like I said, prostate cancer, diabetes, high blood pressure, cancer, the number two cause of death. And
Mm.
all of these are very preventable just with lifestyle and even reversible just with lifestyle.
Isn't that something? You touched upon something there that's so important. You said that in the United States, people of African ancestry tend to have higher occurrences of some of
Mhm.
these chronic conditions. Do you think this is something that we talk enough about? Do you think that the word is getting out that we have to pay attention to these conditions and that there are ways to deal with them without medication?
I do think the word is out. I just don't, I just think that we're not listening, I guess, as much as we should be. And
Yeah.
then when we do listen, it's like kind of too late. And I know how it feels. Like even when I was younger, you think nothing is real to you until you experience it, right? For yourself. You hear about it, you know it exists, but it ain't happened to you yet. So what does it care? I think another
Mm,
reason why it became more real to me because I seen what a stroke can do to somebody. Like my sibling's
mm,
father, to me, he was an intelligent and witty man, right? And he had a stroke and he wasn't quite the same. And I seen him have the stroke. I seen it in person, and then I seen the
mm.
effect of it, and it became a phobia of mine. Like I never want to like lose my full capacity in my brain. I've I don't if I didn't experience that, I don't know if I'd have took my own blood pressure as serious when I found out about it. And I think that could play a part. Or even like kind of somewhat unrelated, but like, I've had friends, we all come from a certain neighborhood. Some of us will see something happen to somebody and other people didn't
Mm.
experience it. So they would think it's a game and still want to live this dangerous
Yeah.
lifestyle because they didn't see the same body that you may have saw where oh, this is serious. I think experience plays a big part. And unfortunately, some of us don't get it until we experience it for ourselves.
Yeah, I mean, I'm glad you said that because I thought you would have said no, the word is not getting out. But you said, yeah, people know. So you said something that I heard you say, or you might have blogged it. It was knowing is not enough. Can you tell us what you meant about that in relationship to chronic health conditions that we're talking about?
It's interesting. I literally was just having a conversation about this with my friend before I said I gotta hang up. I gotta do this
Mhm,
podcast. But yeah, because we live in an information age.
mhm,
There's no reason why all of us shouldn't be in shape, be millionaires, and be in the best relationships of our lives. There's all the information to
mhm,
do it is out there on the internet, mostly on YouTube for free, even. But we're not learning, we're just becoming aware of it. Becoming aware of something is different than knowing something enough to maybe regurgitate it and teach it, which is also different than actually training yourself on it. Like this, I can't remember the country, but there is in their language, there's a different word for like knowing something because you read about it and knowing something through experience. Because when you
yeah.
experience something, you can't tell you. I know for a fact firsthand. I didn't just read about it. I know it, right?
Mhm,
So people can hear, oh yeah, if you just eat your fruits and vegetables, everything will be okay. But knowing how to actually do it is different because you're not always in the mood to eat fruits and vegetables.
mhm,
That ice cream be
mhm.
calling your name, and to train yourself to actually do it is different. It becomes way more nuanced, and yeah, it's just a difference between hearing about or even reading about and actually executing on. So two
Yeah.
completely different things.
Yeah. In introducing you, I said that you lost 60 pounds in 60 days. People are going to hear that and say, nah, Middleton, you're exaggerating in that introduction. We want to hear it from you. Tell us about your health journey.
So my journey, let's zoom out. And I recently started zooming out on this story because I realized how it was affecting people. You know, we get on Instagram and we see people have these amazing lives and these amazing transformations, and they made $1 million last month and they lost 60 pounds, 60 days, and all of that. And we think since we can't do that, something's wrong with us, and then we punish ourselves subconsciously and go even further backwards. So on my story, let's zoom out because what I didn't say in a lot of these posts is what was happening for almost 5 years prior to those 60 days. I was only trying to lose 10 pounds at first, just 10 pounds. I lost the 10 pounds, eating less food, running around doing cardio. Boom, lost 10 pounds. Hooray. I go back to doing the things I was doing before, which put the weight back on with interest. So then I gained about 13, 14 pounds. No big deal. I lost 10 pounds before. I'll lose it again. I did it again. And then I gained some weight again. And I stayed in this cycle for almost 5 years and gained 50 pounds from trying to lose 10 pounds. So it really took me 5 years to lose 10 pounds because when it was April 12th, 2017. That's when I see my blood pressure was 170 something over 100 something. I just had my first child, my daughter Gabrielle. I had her the July previous of 2016. And I was like, I don't know how I could be around for her if people around me are dying from health conditions and they're in their 30s and 40s. I'm 29 years old and my blood pressure is this high already. I probably won't see her graduate high school. I got to do something. That's when something clicked. And that's when the 60-day transformation happened because it was deeper than just trying to fit a shirt and look good in the mirror. It was my whole, what I call my life was on the line because my dad wasn't around as much as I would have liked him to be. And I didn't want to repeat that. So it became that serious for me. And then that's when the weight just fell off because I was super determined. And I started with a 3-day water fast where I didn't eat any food. I only drank water. And during those 3 days, I'm studying, reading all these nutritional studies and these disease studies and all of these things. And that's how I came to the lifestyle I have now. And the weight just fell off.
Mm.
And
Wow.
if you, I don't know if you check my Instagram, but the very first post on my Instagram, I'm standing like this smiling, and I got on the black shirt, the black hat. That was the day. I'm in Atlanta that day. But earlier that day before I hit the road was the day I found out my blood pressure had normalized. So that was pure happiness you see on my face, and I
Yeah,
didn't have to take any medicine.
that's awesome. Look, we're in a courtroom. You're exhibit one that is possible. I like that very, very much. Okay, so not only though, and I like this about you, tell you the truth, not only do you talk about the health of the body, I also sense that you talk about the health of the mind, what I like to call emotional well-being. And you put a popular post that I've seen elsewhere on the Facebook. You said something to the effect that people don't fake being depressed. What did you mean by that?
Mm, yeah, they don't fake it because well, just how many times have we heard of somebody maybe committing suicide and we're like, oh, I thought they were so happy. Or we just seen like, what's his name? There's a famous black guy. And like the week before he committed suicide, he was on TikTok dancing with his family, looking like he's living his best life. Nobody wants to come off as sad and depressed if they can help it. We'll hide behind a smile. We'll go through the motions, and we don't we don't really. I feel like if a lot of us knew what people were going through, we wouldn't treat them the way we treat them sometimes,
Mm-hmm.
right? We would be more compassionate, be more understanding, because at the end of the day, everybody has a story. Just because you're not aware of their story, don't mean they don't have one. Just like there's so many times that people will do something that we would deem bad or sinful or whatever, and the ones who know their story always, oh, but they're such a good person, or you just didn't know much because of this, because you know their story, so you're able to have compassion for them. When we don't know their story, it's easy to judge and say, you're bad, you're wrong. And it's difficult for those people in those positions to express themselves in fear of being judged or whatever the case. And to me, I believe that is the definition of depression is not being able to express yourself. So you depress yourself and suppress yourself. And if you can't express yourself, why are we here? And then I think that's why we see
Mm.
what we see sometimes.
Yeah. I like the way you express that. Here again, another question. Do you think that people are aware, that some people are hurting around them enough? Do you think that family members think about how other family members are feeling now? Do you think this is something that we are aware of?
I think those who go through it themselves can become more aware of it.
Mm,
Um, I think that's the only difference. So, and somebody said something that I thought was profound the other day. Um, this person was teaching from the perspective of business, but he
mm,
said how like miserable people are self-absorbed, right? And happy people. So that he said miserable people are self-absorbed because they obsess over their own problems.
mm,
And happy people and people who are able to get rich obsess over other people's problems because they're trying to find solutions to them. If you find solutions to them, then you can potentially get rich off of it if you
yeah.
monetize it. Because it requires a level of compassion and empathy, like to understand what is this person's problem and how can I help solve it
Mm,
instead of just dwelling on your own problem. If you are dwelling on
mm,
your own problem, are you dwelling on solving it, or are you just dwelling on it so you can get some
mm,
sympathy and attention? Because that's the only way you know how to get it to get attention.
yeah.
But as far as the more directly answer your question, I don't know. It's kind of 50-50. I feel like those who have experienced it for themselves so they can know what it looked like, even know what it looked like to hide it and hide behind those
Mm,
smiles and even realize, like, are you okay for real? Like, I know you always saying it, but ain't nobody just always this happy all the time. Like,
yeah.
it's
Mm,
like you became skilled at this. What's going on
yeah.
for real? I think it's kind of 50
Mm.
50.
I got you. Yeah. But I mean, this is something that people do need to pay attention to. But you also said something I think is spot on. And you said that people fake being okay. Think about that. Talk with us about that, especially in connection with social media.
Yeah, yeah. We always want to show we want to show the highlights, right? We want to show when we're doing
Mm,
good. We want to show when we're doing great. And it seems like the more, I guess, perfect you try to come off, for lack of better
mm,
words, usually the more you're maybe hurting or need some attention or something on the inside. It's like an
mm,
overcompensation. But we overcompensate in a lot of things. I remember my lady saying, you could tell a lot by like how people initially react to things. So, for example, if you go somewhere and maybe you realize your phone is missing, if your very first thought is somebody stole my phone, probably because you yourself are a thief. Because why is that the
uh-oh.
first thought? And why is you overcompensating and trying to make somebody else a thief? Why is that the
Mm,
first thing? I can just maybe you just forgot you put it over there somewhere, right? So yeah, I overcompensating. The people who I think Will Smith may be a good example. He
mm,
came off as this super successful, happy, perfect family until recently you see that maybe things ain't grass and greener over there. I'm not trying to judge what they got going on, but at the
mm,
very least, it looks chaotic in some areas. Um, and it looks even more pronounced in contrast because
mm,
you were just so perfect to America a second ago. So even like a small chink looks crazy, but let alone what's kind of been unfolding to the point where you slapped the man on national TV because he
mm,
probably was trying very hard to people please and come off like, oh, everything is all good. I got this under
mm,
control. And clearly you didn't. So
mm,
overcompensating is how if it comes off too perfect, might be something else going on to
mm-hmm,
be more
mm-hmm.
succinct.
Yeah. I like your work. And I'll tell you why. I like your work because you not only highlight the problem, you suggest lovingly what can be done about it with health. You give a little bit of suggestions.
Appreciate that.
And then the same thing with emotional well-being. So if something is going on, there are things that you can go about it. One thing you mentioned is exercise to relieve stress. Talk to us about that.
Yeah, well, so when we realize, and this is something I learned through my nerding, like I'm always nerding out, but to kind of look at us in a more to look at human beings in a more simplistic way, perhaps overly simplistic, but I think it can still serve us. Everything kind of boils down to biochemistry or neurochemistry, right?
Mm,
Depending on how much neuropinephrine compared to cortisol, compared to dopamine, compared to serotonin is going on in your body at a particular time, is going to dictate how you feel at a particular time. And how you feel at a particular time is going to dictate how you think at a particular time. And what you think at a particular time is going to dictate what you do at a particular time. And what you do is going to determine your life. But at the source of it, it's the neurochemistry and how you feel. And since there's neurochemistry and biochemistry, there's information on how to up your level of serotonin or up your level of dopamine or reduce cortisol and reduce all these other things. There's way where we could find very predictive, very predictably to manage our state. We know when we exercise, more adrenaline and norepinephrine is produced. And when you are in these states, you feel better. And if you feel better, you do better. It's a way to, it's like a cheat code. Um, I have never, I have never, let me know if you seen something different. I ain't never seen nobody come from the gym in a bad mood, at least not in the first 30 minutes. And maybe after it wears off. But in the first half hour, they, whoo, that felt good. You know, that's how you that's how you feel. You're ready to go take on the world. That's why like a lot of successful people exercise first thing in the morning. It gets them in a state. It's a way to take control your state and take control of your life by exercise or by breathing and meditation and all these other things. There's proactive things you can do. You don't have to be a victim of external stimuli dictating your emotions.
Yeah. As the kids would say, I'm down with that. Look, there's something else that you've said, and I love the way you express certain things. And this is one of them. You said, imagination. No, here's let me get it right. You connected imagination with reverse engineering. And that's what got me. I had never heard it expressed that way. Can you tell us what you're getting at there?
Yeah. So this is part of what I did to help me lose the 60 pounds in 60 days so fast. I imagined the version of myself that I wanted to be. So, and it's crazy. So real quick, before I go more in detail of that, I learned that, so when I first started fitness coaching and health training, how I even kind of got here is because at first my clients was getting 50-50 results. Half of them did good, the other half didn't. I'm like, okay, why? What's going on with this other half? What did they have in common compared to this group? The group that was getting the results, they had a deeper why, like why they were doing it. Maybe they just came from the ER, or maybe it's for their family or whatever. And I also noticed that like they kind of like had a vision that they would express that they was working toward. And even when I would interview new potential clients and I would ask them to imagine, like I would say, like, imagine you get on the scale and that number's 40 pounds lighter. How do you feel or whatever? Some of them would say, I can't even imagine that. And those were the ones I could never, they wouldn't even agree to work with me because they literally couldn't perceive it. So you have to, if there's a version of yourself you're trying to be, whether it was losing weight, getting money, being in a better relationship, whatever, if you can't even see it in your imagination, how can you bring it to reality? First, put it in your imagination so you can see what it even looks like. And that alone gives you so much freedom or tools and resources to work from. And then you can even like do like visualization exercises with yourself, like asking how you got there and like asking that version of yourself how you got there. And it's amazing what the subconscious will come up with that for some reason you couldn't think of before you did this mental exercise. So I would imagine this version of myself and I would just like, I would see it and imagine like how I wanted to see him doing and interacting. And then when I'm in real life, so I'm like, okay, this version of myself, there's no way he lost 60 pounds, but he's still eating this food. Or there's no way he lost 60 pounds, but he doesn't work out. Okay, so in order to get to that, what would he do right now? He'll buzz down and do 20 push-ups right quick. Boom, that's what I'm about to do. 1, 2, 3. And that's what I would do. And then after pretending of being that version of myself, I became him. And that's who you see now today.
Yeah. Okay, reverse engineering and imagination. All right. Hey, as I said, as I look, I like to know the people I'm talking with. As I got to know you before this meeting today, another thing popped out that surprised me. I'm not surprised often, but I was surprised. It was spirituality. Now, maybe you don't use that word, but then you talked about consciousness. So, then you added shifting consciousness. And then I said, oh, yeah, he's into spirituality as well. What's consciousness? And what do you mean by shifting consciousness?
It kind of goes to that. So shifting consciousness. Here's a decent example because a lot of times, every I can't say a lot of times, usually every time, the solution to our problems be literally in front of our face. We just can't see it because of what we're conscious of. Like right now, we're doing this podcast interview. And right now, I'm only conscious of you. Somebody just came in this room just now. I don't know if it was my lady or Malik. I don't know. I wasn't conscious of. I wasn't paying attention. I wasn't paying attention. My focus wasn't there. We're only conscious of what we focus on. I don't know how familiar you are with different stories in the Bible and things like that, but in the book of Genesis, chapter 21, the story of Hagar, if I'm saying her name right, she was stuck in the desert with her son and basically about to die of dehydration. Like, yo, what are we gonna do?
Mm,
And then it said God opened her eyes, and then she saw the well of water.
mm,
It didn't say that God put a well there automatically. It said it opened her eyes, which means it was already there. She just couldn't see it
mm.
because she just wasn't
Yeah.
conscious of it. She wasn't focusing on that. What are we focused on? Like, you got to shift your consciousness to see your solutions. Like, a lot of times we be so focused on the problem, we can't see the solution right in front of our face.
Yeah.
And and that goes back to kind of like the emotional states I was talking about. If you're in a good mood, you're more likely to see good things. You know, if you're in a
Mm,
bad mood, you're more likely to notice all the bad things going on in your life. It's called,
mm,
they have a term for it. It's called state dependent memory. You
mm,
could, they have people like if they get drunk off alcohol and then whatever they do when they're drunk,
mm,
and then when they get sober, they're like, I don't remember doing none of that. But if they get drunk, sometimes they can remember what they did because they're in that same state again. Because that
mm,
biochemistry is in that same drunk, wherever your biochemistry get
mm,
when you're drunk, it's there again. So now they can remember everything they did when they was drunk, but they don't remember what they did when they was sober. But then when they get
mm,
sober, they can only remember what they was doing when they were sober, but not when they was drunk.
mm,
If you get upset, you can remember all the things that made you upset in life, but it's hard to remember what made you happy because
mm,
it's not how your biochemistry set up for the moment. But when you get happy, now you can remember all the things that made you happy, but it's difficult to
mm,
remember all the things that made you upset.
mm. Yeah. I tell you, I hope that people got the nugget that you're dropping some bomb nuggets for sure. And you said about the Hagar in the well, right? The well could have been there. She just didn't
Just
see
didn't
it.
see it.
Yeah, that's a nugget, Blaqamore. I like that one for sure. Now, gosh, you told us, as I said, I'm studying, I'm prepping, right? I'm prepping, and you told us that nature leaves clues. I paused for a moment. So I'm trying to get there. Now you tell me, what are you getting at? Nature leaves clues.
Nature
Apply that
leaves.
for me. Mm,
Oh, well, so for example, um, trees, right?
mm,
You know, trees have to grow downward before they grow upward
mm,
because the roots have to grow underground first. So it has to go
yeah.
downward before it grows upward. So if you are somebody who's trying to achieve something higher, like trying to grow upward, the step back, the setback is inevitable, right? You got to go through certain things. You can't just, it's not always going to be peaches and roses. You got to go through some type of, you have to set your foundation down. Like if a tree just grew up straight without the roots,
Mm,
wind could knock it over, no problem. But
mm,
when you grow down, you get them roots in. You got to go through them trials and tribulations. You got to go through this so the foundation could be there. That's a part of nature leaving clues on how things work in life in general. The principles could be
mm,
applied in all these different aspects in general. Or if you think of like a butterfly,
mm,
when a caterpillar transforms into a butterfly, there's caterpillar cells which make up the caterpillar, and then as it tries to turn into a butterfly, the butterfly cells start to come into caterpillar cells. I don't think people know that it's like that caterpillar literally feels pain. The caterpillar cells and the butterfly cells literally go to war. It
mm,
goes to war and it's pain felt before it transforms into a butterfly, which tells us what transformation, even for the better, is painful. That transition period is painful. That's a part of nature leaving clues. Um,
mm.
uh, kind of even I talk about breathing a lot, especially more recently.
Yeah.
How we naturally breathe in certain situations. Let's say me and you get into an argument for some reason right now.
Mm,
If I say something that's just crazy that makes you upset, you may, all right, Blaqamore, whatever. You'll naturally take a deep, slow breath to relax yourself, to regulate your nervous system. The good news is you don't have to wait for somebody to upset you to take deep, slow breaths to relax yourself, right? Or even, let's say a mountain lion comes through my door right now. I may breathe more faster and frequently. This will give me energy and make me more
mm,
alert because I'm probably going to have to run away from this mountain lion. We always say how we don't have energy and we're tired. You don't have to wait for a mountain lion to come in to practice a breathing exercise to make yourself more alert and to give yourself energy from how
Mm-hmm.
we naturally breathe.
Yeah.
Involuntarily, we do this, but we don't have to wait to breathe reactively. That's another part of nature leading. I hope that answered the question. It's like
Yeah,
we go.
yeah. We want to come back to that breathing part for sure. Because I'm gonna do some things with that one. Uh, See, I've already learned some stuff from you, brother. So, but I'm gonna hold it back though. I'm pumping, but I'm gonna hold it back. But you're leading me into, from what you just said, you're leading me into personal development. You're a fitness coach, you're a health coach. You talk to people about the health of the body. You talk to people about how to become more fit. You probably have students that you work with and the like, but you're a professional development coach as well. And one of the things that you seem to be sharing with people is how to overcome their limiting beliefs. So I'm going to throw some things out that I've gleaned from you, okay? And I want you
Mhm.
just to comment on those things. And if I got something that's not you, just let me know. Everyone will know that I picked it up someplace else. But professional development, some things that I think you've talked about. One is you suggest that it's possible for us to gain mastery over our mindset. Am I applying something that you've said around? You might have expressed it a little differently, but is that one of yours?
Yeah,
Mastering our mindset.
yeah,
Yeah.
definitely. Because when you master that,
Mhm.
sky's the limit, or even beyond the sky's the limit at that point. Do you master your
Mhm.
mindset? Do you master? And the thing is, mastering your mindset is just simply setting your mind on it. Like, so for example, an extreme example, if your shirt caught on fire right now,
Mhm.
your mindset is put this fire out by any means necessary. You would have mastered the mindset of getting the fire out. But it doesn't have to be nothing that extreme. If your mind is set on, I'm gonna make sure that my relationship with my wife works. That's it. There's not that you're gonna do it by any means necessary. If your mindset is, I'm going to get this weight off, when you do that, the other, like, for example, my mindset was, I am not about to let blood pressure take me out no 29, 30 something years old. My mind was set. I figured out the details later, and the details just came. I found that
Mhm.
to be more important than knowing the details and the methods and the knowledge and all of that. So some questions I would ask my clients sometimes, because I would give them like a lecture on, yo, these vitamins do this, these proteins do that, y'all need to do this, calories, blah, blah, blah. And then I would say, so on a scale of 1 to 10, how knowledgeable do you feel on our journey? And they may say, like, oh, I feel like an 8 or a 9. I'm like, okay, cool.
Mhm.
Then I'll say, well, how confident do you feel on reaching your goal? Maybe like a 5 or a 6.
Mhm.
How? If you got the knowledge, right? Because if you
Yeah.
don't feel like it's going to happen, the knowledge don't even matter because you're gonna self-sabotage naturally.
Yeah.
If you would be better off having your confidence be rated a 10 and your knowledge be rated a 1, because the confidence is going to make the knowledge come regardless, because your mind is set on it. You may like to go to the shirt on fire example, it may not be no water in there. You're gonna find something, you're gonna beat your chest against the wall, you're gonna become creative. You'll create
Mhm.
a way if you can't find it. So master setting your mind on something, I think, is the most important thing for whatever
Yeah.
goal you're trying to do.
Blaqamore, you've just helped me get a whole new way of seeing the word mindset. I mean, it's everywhere, right? Everyone talks about, all of the coaches talk about it, write
Yeah.
about it. But my God, it's so simple from what you've said. It's like you set your mind, just set your mind on it. If you set your, it's like a made up mind
Yeah.
about something. I love
Yeah.
that. So look, that touched me today. I'm going to remember that one.
Nice.
Here is another one. And I don't have it exactly how you said it, but you were talking about um, you really become what you care about. It was like you were connecting health, for example, to something that you can become if you care about it. But if you don't care about it, you may not become that. That's what do you recall talking about that? And can you say more about that?
Yeah, I don't remember specifically, but I think I know what you're getting at. Basically, um, so it's interesting. We really become what we love, but
Mm,
love, when we look at the dictionary definition of love and like the etymology of the word, and I like to get into etymologies because I
mm,
do believe the original intention of words still carry that energy, even if the
mm,
definitions transform over time. When you look at the word love, it means like to be deeply affected. Now, something doesn't have to affect you in a positive way. It can affect you negatively as well
Mm-hmm.
because it consumes you. And we know we are what we consume. We know we are what we eat. So, very simple example: if you're always watching negativity on the news, you're gonna and it consumes you. Oh man, I can't believe this president did this or they doing that. Blah blah blah. So now, when it's time to have a conversation with people about your day, what's likely to come out of your mouth? With that negativity you've seen on the news and how you felt about it and how you're so upset about it. And we just talked about so if you're upset, it's easy to see other things that's going to make you upset, and you're just stuck in this emotional echo chamber. It's like a prison. Like you're not going to be able to escape. So you have to you just have to be conscious of that and respond to that and train yourself to be in the emotional state that serves you the best.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, I made an acronym of the next thing that caught my attention. My acronym is FOF. Does it occur to you what I'm trying to get at?
Freedom over
You
failure.
said something else. What was that?
Freedom over failure.
I think I might have caught something else. Was like focus outweighs fears, and I said, "Oh,
Oh yeah.
FOF, focus
Yeah.
outweighs fears." I said, "I'm gonna use that one, but I'm gonna give it an acronym, FOF."
Yeah.
So, what are you getting at there?
Yeah. Well, so for example,
Yeah,
back to my personal situation with blood pressure. When I seen that,
yeah.
I got scared. I got scared and I
Mm,
don't know what. It was very fearful. I may die earlier than I was supposed to. I may have a stroke or a heart attack. I may not see my daughter grow up the way I wanted to. I may have to be on medicine. I may have to be
mm,
this, crippled old person. There was a lot of fear there.
mm,
So, okay, I could either let that part consume me or I could focus so tough on fixing this problem that I don't even have time to be scared. I'm too busy trying to
mm.
figure out how to do it. You know, we
Yeah.
the gift and the curse is, there's limited. Our body can only is limited what we can have inside of us, right? You can't
Mm,
feel happy and sad at the same time. We can only
yeah.
experience one emotion at a time. So you can spend that time letting the fear consume you, or you could spend that time letting the focus of overcoming that fear
Mm,
consume you. Just ask
mhm,
yourself which one serves you better. Now, and
mhm.
I found that focusing on overcoming the fear serves most people better. So that's what I would lean
I love
toward.
it. I love it. That's why I'm going to write it someplace. FOF. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Look, I love it. You did this on social media, and breathing. You talked about it already. I was holding back because I loved it when you did it on social media. You not only tell us about breathing as you've already done, you gave us a breathing exercise.
Mm.
So I want you to do both. I want you once again to remind us about breathing, why that's important, and secondly, walk us through a breathing exercise. Now I'm going to let me see something here. I think I'm going to put the spotlight on you. Can I do that real quickly? Start for me. If I can do it, I'll do it. But if I can't, we'll just go on from where we are.
Okay. Yeah. So breathing is very important. And when you think about it, that is like, and here's the thing, because I don't know if for the audience members are like believers in the Bible or not. I don't believe you have to even be a believer to still, at the very least, appreciate the story, right? When you think of the story of God creating Adam and Eve, he made Adam from the dust and all of that. He used things that he had created already to make them. The one thing that he gave like straight from God to Adam was breath. He breathed into his lungs. That right there should show how important breathing is. That's like the one gift we got, like all the way personally from God, from his own being. He blew his own breath in the lungs, and it's been multiplying ever since. So when we think about, like I explained earlier, how it can control your state. So, like I kind of expressed earlier, a common thing is I don't have the energy. I'm tired. If I just have more energy, I don't have the energy. I don't have the energy. You can breathe yourself into some energy. The example I gave, a threat comes, you hyperventilate. Nature set it up to where you will breathe like this involuntarily. So what we can do is there's two ways you can go about giving yourself energy. You can either just breathe a little faster, do 10 to 30 breaths, like yeah, see, I got some energy right now already. Just doing that. Just do it like just 10, especially if you've never done it before. 10 breaths can probably get you there where you'll feel like a physiological change in your body. Here we go. You feel a little bit different, right? See? Now, so we could do that. And another way to give yourself energy, a general rule of thumb, is make the inhale longer than the exhale. So in this example, I'll breathe in for 3 seconds and exhale for 1 second. So boom, feel the physiological change, right? Oh, like and when you feel that change, leverage it, right? Do something with it. A lot of times so like for example, when I ask clients, what would you do if you lost 30 pounds? Oh, I don't know. I guess I'll be happy. You ain't gonna have motive. What's the point of losing 30 pounds if your life ain't gonna change, right? Why did you want to lose it to begin with? So we could say you don't have energy. Well, if you had energy, what would you do with it? Oh, I don't know. Get up and do something. Go for that run, go to the gym, go work on that business you want to work on. So now when we go to the relaxing, so many people say it's difficult for us to fall asleep at night. My mind be racing, blah, blah, blah. Well, breathe deeper and slowly. You'll relax. Just like I said earlier, if I say something that upsets you, you'll involuntarily take a deep breath. So we could just breathe in deep and slow. Oh,
All
three,
right.
four breaths, you already feel a little bit more relaxed. Or when you want to relax, you make the exhale longer than the inhale. So you can inhale for 2 or 3 seconds and exhale for 5, 6, 7 seconds, whatever. The particular numbers don't matter. It's just generally, if you want to relax, make the exhale longer than the inhale. And if you want energy, do it reverse and just keep it consistent. Just knowing when to relax and when to give yourself energy already, that's life-changing things if you really want to apply it. You can fall asleep. This is because I'll tell you this is is I challenge everybody listening to do this. If you have trouble with sleep, do the deep breath exercise we literally just did for 30 breaths. Let me know if you make it to 30 before you fall. You might not make it to 30. You'll be knocked out.
That's
So
awesome. That's awesome. But look, if you're listening or watching, if you're listening, you didn't see the exercises, but I did the exercise with Blaqamore earlier. And can you see that big smile on my face? I'm ready to go because of this exercise. So yeah, this stuff really works. Hey, Blaqamore, a couple more things that I wanted. I love that you talked about these things. You talked about the benefits of fasting. And then you told us that there's a way to even do something even greater than fasting. I'll get to that. So I'm going to save that or take it this day. But fasting, benefits of fasting, from you, as the way you see it.
fasting, that's how I started. That was the first 3 days of my 60 days, right? Um, so even like weight loss or anything, our body spends 60 to 80% of its energy digesting food. Now your body has to fight off illnesses, it has to keep you alert, it has to make sure you regulate your emotional state the best way that it sees fit. It has to give you thoughts that it think is gonna serve you best in whatever your particular situation is. But if your body is digesting food, it's left with 20, 40% of the energy to do that. And the worse you eat is probably gonna get more towards the 80% way. So most people only have 20% of his body energy to keep it healthy, to keep it healthy, basically. I mean, why a fifth of your body's energy to keep you healthy? That's losing odds. And it shows in America, especially. Um, so when you fast, now your body can get 100% of its energy to do all these other things. And particularly with weight loss, it's like a natural gastric surgery. When you get these weight loss surgeries to make your stomach smaller so you can eat less, and then that's how they lose the weight. But then it's crazy because they become malnourished because they can't eat enough food to get all the nutrients that they need.
Mhm.
You can do it naturally with fasting, right? Your stomach will naturally shrink, so it doesn't take as much food to fill you up, and then you naturally can lose weight given that you're eating the right foods. Also, your it's a great discipline practice. You're proving to yourself psychologically that like the number one driver of us living, like the number one way to stay alive is to eat food, is to consume. So to take manual control over that, over something that's innate within us is a huge testament to our potential of discipline. Many of us say, oh, I'm just not disciplined enough. You complete a fast. If that's not proof you're disciplined, I don't know what is. You're denying your body's most instinctual, your most natural urge. That shows the unlimitedness of our potential, almost, if you will. Like if you could deny yourself food, you could deny yourself anything, because a lot of things we need to deny ourselves so we can get to a better place in life. So the benefits of that is tremendous. Also, with the water fast, and I'm not here to say that this is 100% scientifically accurate, but I think it's interesting. I don't know if you're aware of them doing studies where like they would have like these 3 cups of water, these 3 bowls of water, and they'll talk to one bowl of water in this loving way. Oh, you're great. I appreciate you. I love you. Blah, blah, blah. They'll talk to the other bowl of water. You ain't about nothing. You're bad. You're ugly. Blah, blah, blah. And then they'll just completely ignore the third bowl of water. And then like after the end of the month, the water that they talked great to was beautiful, was crystallized, just perfect. The one that they talked crazy to was ugly, and the one that they ignored was actually the worst. So I find it interesting if you do a 3-day water fast, and like when I did my 3-day water fast, I consumed myself with healthy information, learning how to be healthy. I just wonder what's the odds of that? If I'm only consuming water and I'm only feeding myself this healthy information, and then my transformation seems to be so easy compared to others. I wonder was there something to that, with the with the water fasting, especially
Yeah.
since we are 70% water, our blood is 80%
Yeah.
water. I wonder if there's something to that.
Yeah.
I could go on and on and on about fasting,
Yeah.
but
Yeah. Yeah.
I try
Yeah.
to.
We'll look. I got to bring you back because I haven't talked about meditation yet, but I'm going to save that one because I want to get to. Oh, by the way, you also told us on social media that when you engage in fasting and meditation, that it's possible to get an organic high. Now, I had never heard that before. I said, "Oh, look, Blaqamore, I got an organic high from just being with you today." So it is true. It is possible here. Yeah. Hey, look, but I want to. There's so much more for us to talk about, but I don't want to leave, today without talking about financial literacy. Um, and your first book delves into that. Can you just share briefly some of your insights and maybe even some of your tips about how to, do better financially?
Yeah. Thing is, I think most of us don't understand interest rates. Once you understand interest and how interest works, I think a lot of us will make different decisions. Um, the power of compound interest is so underrated, and I can't stress it enough. It's when we look at the wealth gap, every time the wealth gap is like the highest, is because the stock market is usually at all-time highs, because the richest people own these companies by way, if they didn't found them themselves, they invested in it by way of the stock market. The beautiful thing is anybody can invest in the stock market, right? You don't have to be an accredited investor like it is in the private equity markets, which still is not fair to everybody else, but that's a whole nother conversation. But we are more likely to take out a credit card than we are to invest in the stock. Credit cards, you're getting charged compoundly, 20 plus percent a year. This is what you got to pay 20% a year. If you can make 20% a year in the stock market, you're guaranteed to be a millionaire after a couple decades. Like to make 20% a year in a stock market is elite Warren Buffett levels. You got to be super skilled, and we'll probably say you was just happen to be lucky over all these times. So if making a 20% return on your money year after year after year can guarantee you will be a millionaire after some decades, what is it doing if you are paying that every year? It's no wonder so many of us are in poverty, right? And
Yeah.
and what we put our money in a savings account when we want to save. It's not a savings account because your money is getting corroded by inflation. Your money is getting killed. It's not saved. It needs to be saved. You need to put your money in equities where it can be saved from the inflation, where it can be saved from those interests. So the single best advice I can give is less credit cards, more stocks. Less debt, more equity. It's kind of, it's simple. It's hard to execute for some. I don't even think it's hard to execute. It's just it's just not talked about, I guess, enough. Too many of us will take out a credit card before we'll invest in the very company that we spend all of our money with anyway throughout the year. We
Yeah.
got way more
Yeah.
pairs of Nike shoes in the closet than we own Nike shares.
Yeah. Isn't that something? Isn't that something? Look, I tell you what, there's so many reasons for me to bring you back. If we can put our schedules together, just to talk about financial literacy alone.
We
But your
can do it.
new book, it's June 2024. When do you think it's coming out? Transformation 60.
Well, given it'll probably be out by the time they hear this podcast. So I'm
Okay.
I'm aiming for around the 4th of July. So within the next month or so.
Uh-huh. Uh-huh. Okay, so transfer that's going to hit the world, boy, big time. So give us a brief advertisement. What did you put into this book,
Well, the
Transformation
book,
60?
yeah,
Yeah.
it's about my story. When I first wrote it, I was gonna take the everything I learned about nutrition and get a little more technical and break down how amino acids
Mhm.
work and all of that. But I kind of had the epiphany, like I just told you earlier. Like it starts with mindset, and look, if people were interested in the how amino acids work and all of that, I wouldn't have to write this book in the first place. The information already exists. I'm gonna be, I'm gonna talk about more about what I did. Like for example, I would literally practice saying no to foods that I didn't have business eating before I stepped outside. Like I'm talking about things like that I did. What it really took for me to lose those 60 pounds in 60 days, the preparation that it took, the things that I didn't realize wasn't average that I was doing. I'm
Yeah.
giving way more insight into that, how I view language and words that I refuse to use because I just don't believe in the concept like can't or failure, because there's no such thing as just giving up and not wanting too bad enough, and how that can make a huge shift in how you view life, because language, it dictates how we view life.
Hmm.
It dictates our consciousness, so
Hmm.
I'm going into that in more depth and detail, so look out for that.
I
I
like
think
it. I like the title Transformation 60. In fact, if you don't mind, I want to use Transformation 60 as the title of this podcast. How about that?
let's do it. I love it.
Okay,
I love it.
okay, okay. Well, Blaqamore, I really enjoyed. You can see it on the smile on my face. I really enjoyed this conversation with you. This was terrific. Thank you so much for
Appreciate you
joining me
having me on.
today.
Thanks
Okay.
for having me.
All right. Well, you've been listening to the Possibility Action Network podcast. Our guest today has been Blaqamore Hampton. I'm your host, Stephen Middleton. Until next time, good day